Hi, welcome to the Information and Technology Career Panel. My name is Amy Mccoy. I am the Career Development Coordinator here at West Carteret High School. Today we have a panel of information technology professionals from different types of businesses and careers and education to learn more about the opportunities that Carteret County has to offer in information technology. I'm going to let the panel introduce themselves and be sure to tell what business, job title, and how your profession career needs and utilizes technology or the technology careers. Okay, I'm going to start with Mr. Keith Mccoy.
Hey, I'm Keith Mccoy. I'm the IT Operations Manager at Carteret Healthcare. Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to find my mute button. But what was the question, the last part of the question again?
Just you told your help, basically what do you do in technology?
Yeah, so like everything operational wise or technical wise in the hospital, between networking, video cameras, access door controls, databases, servers, everything that enables the clinicians or the hospital to run. We handle all the back end technology.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Ms. Kim Maples.
Hello, I'm Kim Maples, and I'm the IT Applications Manager at Carteret Healthcare. And so Keith and I actually run the IT department together. So he handles all the technical pieces, and then I manage the software and application side. So I actually am a nurse by trade. I've been a nurse for 21 years, went into IT about 15 years ago as a clinical analyst, supporting all the different softwares that any clinician touches in a hospital. And now I kind of manage all those folks that help those people, do that now. So.
Awesome, thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, Mr. Ray Hall.
Hello, yeah, Ray Hall. I'm the IT Director for Carteret County Government. Basically, that means anything in Carteret County Government we support the IT needs for. It's very wide and diverse. Like Keith and Kim, it's basically, it usually comes down to anything with electricity, is kind of thrown our way. So we we support everything from, might seem as simple as, parks and recreation, administration, tax, registered deeds. We also support, though, very, 24/7 life critical public safety, such as the sheriff's office, the jail, emergency 911. We're making sure the phones are able to be answered, and, the ambulances and police and fire can get to you. So it's all, it's kind of all across the board. What we support in technology is, all of it's reliant on technology one way or another. So.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Norm Pollock. Oh, you're muted.
There we go. My hair? All right. Sorry about that. I thought I was unmuted the whole time. Well, hi, Amy. My name is Norm Pollock, Chief Technology Officer at Transportation Impact. We use technology in a number of ways. One of the primary things that we do is we build tools to identify cost savings for shippers. And that could be anything. It could be shippers that are shipping parcels, the little boxes that go through UPS and FedEx, all the way up to large freight shipments. And using technology, we have written all sorts of programs. We're working on predictive analytics. We have a lot of large data. We load over 25 million packages a week from our clients, and we analyze that data using a number of different tools. Python programming language, C#. We use a lot of BI tools. We have data warehouses. Just about everything in the technology area that you can think of, we try to utilize. We also have an operation team that's focused, on our phones, networking, security, and all those aspects that go on that side of the house as well.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, and Miss Abby Demarest.
Thanks. So I'm Abby Demarest. I work for Big Rock Sports, and I am the IT project manager. Big Rock is the largest wholesaler for hunting and fishing gear in North America. And kind of our department, what we do in terms of technology is that we help, we have our website where the customers will order different products. And then we also manage the warehouses where there's a system that tells our pickers what to go pick and then how to ship it. And then we also integrate with shippers and also back with our customers to say, hey, your order's on its way, as well as handling all of the how finances are handled and everything else in the background.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Wes Reinhart.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Wes Reinhart. I'm the wide area network engineer for Carteret County Public Schools. So our department is really all things operation, really supporting the day-to-day needs for instruction or business, anything that the school would need to run. Technology is interweaved in some way, shape, or form, from the facility operations to transportation, the school business functions, and then the school instructional functions. So my role is more of a supportive role, to be the technical team lead for all of the on-site technicians, and then as a project manager for our chief technology officer to help facilitate improvement projects and kind of be the go-between from technical to business. So that's kind of the high level of what I do on a day-to-day.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you all, first of all, for being here. I don't know a whole lot about the Carteret County's information technology stuff, so we're learning all about what you're doing and your pathways. Can each of you tell us a little bit about your education, your certifications, the skills that would be beneficial for you to have in your area? And I'll just let you jump in.
Yeah, sure. I can start real quick then. I find that, it really all starts with good algebra skills and logic. I highly recommend, you focus on that. This is from a programming perspective, and I'll share this as well. We need a lot more programmers than we do operational people. And I found that at all the businesses I've worked at, generally there's a higher need for programmers. So, I always like people to focus on that. I think, it's a great area to get into. And so, like I said, algebra provides an excellent foundation for programming. In regards to education, we find that people that have a bachelor's degree or higher are generally better initial candidates. But that's not to say we've got some very good people that have associate's degrees, and we have people that have gone through technical school as well, and have good success with them. It's just easier to get in the door, I think, if you've got that bachelor's degree or higher. One of the things that we do is we do have a test that we give to all developers. So when any developer comes in, we ask them what their best programming language is, and we'll provide them with a test. And if they can pass that test, generally speaking, if we're trying to fill that role, we'll go ahead and hire them.
Awesome.
So, go ahead.
Sorry. I'll be quick. So as a contrast to transportation impact, we don't do programming really. We are heavy on networking and software, hardware support, phone support. We pretty much have everything but programming. We're kind of an off the shelf when it comes to software, but we do everything else. So I think from our perspective, if I was to tell you one thing to focus on, it would be security. And I mean, that's what our biggest focus is now, and probably for the rest of our lives is making sure that we don't end up on the news along with the other municipalities and counties that are shut down for weeks and months because of ransomware or some other malicious activity. So that's what we invest a lot of our time and focus and funding on. But that's what I would recommend, because it's not going away. But we need people in all aspects. From being able to fix a computer on the most basic level to being able to configure very complex networks and routers, switches, and voice over IP. And so it's a wide range that we need on aside from programming. But I think from an education perspective, our positions, we have 12 positions in our IT department in the county, and they range from requiring an associate's degree to a bachelor's degree. It just depends on what the position is. Obviously, to get higher up, you want to at least get a bachelor's degree to be considered. But the associate's degree will definitely get you in the door here. Certifications, again, security certifications. We do a lot of virtualization, both server and desktop. So, being able to be proficient in VMware and other virtualization technologies, Cisco, Meraki, those kind of industry certifications are valuable as well.
Hey, this is Keith. Yeah, so I agree with Ray. That's a lot of what the hospital has from my side of the business, but Kim has a different perspective from the IT perspective from the clinical side and application side. But from our perspective on it, the college education at the 4-year degree level is higher. You get a person who's well finished, but the biggest skill set that we have a hard time trying to find is the person with effective, communication skills, the critical thinking skills. Can you think outside of the box? That kind of deal. Finding that candidate is the hardest one to nail down, and we search for, I would say, weeks and months on end, reading countless resumes and applications, and trying to find that needle in a haystack. And once we do, we tend to snag them up pretty quickly. But at that point, we're competing with the other businesses within the county, outside the area, Raleigh, Wilmington. A lot of those folks try to, they get the better prices, the better their amounts they're paying these folks. Healthcare it's a different animal than the bigger industries. We wear a lot of hats. Whereas I could be the networking engineer today, I'll be the database administrator, later that afternoon. So it's a different animal. So, but we like people who cover a lot of different areas. That, like I said, we hire for the communication, customer service, and critical thinking skills.
Both you said the security, and I totally agree with that. Security is definitely an area that is in high demand. And you also mentioned wearing a lot of hats, and that's where that DevOps, developer and operations person, those are also really hard to get, and are very valuable as well, especially with cloud services.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, in general, I would say your soft skills, your communication, your personability, your ability to have a social dialogue and relate to people. That's probably one of the, just sitting in on the interviews for the technicians we brought in over the years. If you have some education, you have some experience, but probably is good, but probably the number one thing that we're going to be looking for, you the right kind of person that's going to be a supportive role, someone that is pleasing to be around on the team. And, you're putting them in front of a lot of people to support. We can train a lot of the technical skills that you need on the job if you didn't have them to come to the table with, but we can't necessarily train you to be a social, really well-versed in the social needs that are going to be a part of that job. So I think that's probably the number one thing that we normally would look for. And then the on-the-job training is going to be what we could help provide, but the degrees will certainly help you get on the team and drive your salary up. But I would say, as far as certifications go, the vendor neutral would be, for anyone that's coming in entry level, would be something that I would pursue. Anything CompTIA, the SANS Institute, IC Squared, any of those things that aren't necessarily tied to a specific manufacturer, and that can kind of give you the breadth of IT that aren't really vendor specific. Then once you really find your pathway, if you're going to be working with Cisco, if you're going to be working with HP, Dell, whatever it is, you can dig into the vendor specific certifications and become more specialized. But if you're going to spend your own money and your own time, I would say go vendor neutral first.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to echo that real quick. I mean, Wes and Keith, and everyone's right that, I usually start out my interviews right off the bat, making sure that they understand that my most important goal in looking for a candidate is their customer service. So that's always going to be most important, because no one's going to walk into a job and know how to run all your systems and support them. It's going to take time to, even if if you've worked on the same system somewhere else, we may do it different. So, having that core technical background is important, being able to learn, but customer service is going to be the most important thing for us as well.
Yeah, and I'll add to all of these. Definitely communication is a key part of our daily life. Not only a lot of it really has to do with actually people outside the IT department within our company. You know, some of them will call, they'll have a computer problem, and you have to be able to, a lot of times that means that they're kind of feeling a heightened sense of, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And you kind of have to help them like calm down and help figure it out. So that's definitely part of the interpersonal skills. But then also on top of that, you could have a project that you're working on, which is very technical, and you really need to be able to communicate with those from other departments to understand what it is that they really need as part of the programming. But I'll also add that I know, bachelor's degrees and different things were mentioned. I kind of took a different path into IT. I actually did a bachelor's degree in human service studies, which is kind of like social work. And then after college, I worked for a while in that field, and then actually decided to go to a computer programming boot camp where I learned how to program, and then made my way into programming with our company. And then now I'm in project management. So I think that's kind of just to say that if there are things, if you are interested in IT, but also have some other interests as well, don't forget about those, because those actually can really be a benefit to kind of how you can present yourself in the future in the IT world.
Yeah, I like what you said there, Abby. This is Keith again, but we always say we can teach you IT all day long, but I cannot teach you those interpersonal skills of communications and customer service. Those are things that you innately want to do naturally. Love that.
And I'm just going to jump on and tag team with everyone else with all of that. But I do think from an application software standpoint, like Abby, I did not take the normal route to get into IT. So I think the most important skills that I look for in a candidate is critical thinking skills, because you have to be able to think outside the box, not within your own little bubble. When you get those people that are calling and something's wrong, communication is obviously like number one important, to be able to communicate with them, figure out what's going on, talk them down the ledge, and then also be able to just kind of think through every issue or different thing. And I think in healthcare IT, I do look for clinicians that have worked in healthcare, but not necessarily. That's not always like the number one thing. It's good if you have, but if you haven't, just being able to be on the floor and seeing what clinicians go through, and then having an understanding of the software and being able to leverage that and understand, like, yes, I need the software to do these things, but I also need to make my clinicians' workflows better. So it's not always about what the software can do for them, but what we can make it do to make, kind of everything better. So critical thinking skills goes right up there with communication. And I know whenever we do interviews with candidates, it's amazing how many people you find that don't know how to communicate very well. They may be super technical and very, very skilled in what they do, but if you can't communicate, it's very difficult for you to move forward in your career.
Very true. Very true. Well, y'all led right into my next question, and I think you pretty much answered it, but I'm going to touch base on it anyway. We've all heard about soft skills, okay, or 21st century skills. Y'all hit the communication, you hit the interpersonal relationship, you hit the basically thinking out of the box, problem solving, critical thinking type thing. Is there anything else, any other soft skills that are just really, we're trying to touch on those in the high school and make sure that these kids get at least a taste of it and understand why it's so important. So is there any other soft skill you can think of that's really important?
Yeah, I would add, I'm sorry, I would say a very important one to me is patience, and the ability to adapt to change. Those two are two qualities that are a must, I think.
I would add to that. I totally agree with Ray, but I would also add time management. just the
Okay.
ability to have that self-awareness and manage their time well and know where their limits are and when to reach out for help, when to admit that maybe they need to pull someone else in to solve a problem. Just so not spinning our wheels all day and not actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, along with time management, and that is a big one because you can get down the rabbit hole real quick. But the other is organizational skills as well. Yeah, being able to organize everything and have it outlined and timelined. That's huge.
Yeah, I agree with those. The other one I would add, is being an independent learner. IT is constantly changing. Whatever anybody here took in college is probably no longer relevant. It's changed so much. So, Google's definitely a friend. One of the points that Wes made was know when to ask for help. So we always urge people, look, try it out, spend X amount of time on it. But then if you can't get it yourself, then come to somebody. There's some people that go to people every single problem, and that's not what we want either. We want people to at least attempt to use their critical thinking skills, attempt to solve the problem, and then if they can't, then go for help. So all good ones though, everybody brought up.
Yeah, and I'll add on, it's kind of linked to communication and organization. Those are highly important. I think kind of connected to that is also being able to document not only what you've been communicating with others, but also what the changes are that you're implementing. Because if you're not able to document that, then in the future, somebody may not know what it is that the changes are. And that's definitely really important.
And that may lead into another thing. A lot of times we think programming and IT as being independent people, but how important is it that you work as a team?
Teamwork, good point.
Huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Because y'all all have teams that work together, correct? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times people just think programmers sit in and that's what they do. They don't bother anybody. They don't do, or an IT person goes in and fixes it and doesn't bother anything. And I think that's something that we don't realize, or the kids don't realize. It's a teamwork.
We foster teamwork nonstop. I mean, we can't operate not being in a team, and we also do all the GIS, the geographical information systems for the county. So we have a diverse skill set, and we all don't silo off and just focus on what we're doing. We have to have a holistic knowledge and approach to the county as a whole to be able to best support them. So team is important.
Yeah, teamwork, it allows, enables that innate ability is that what Ray may think is the solution to a problem, I may have a different point of attacking that problem. And everybody sharing that information and working together, it just heightens the skill set.
Yeah.
As well as one change I make is going to have all kinds of different downstream impacts that you may not be aware of unless you are working with your team to know kind of what that one, to me, seems simple is going to do long term. So teamwork's definitely important.
And those communication channels she's hinting on we have multiple methods of sharing information. We have short little 15-minute safety huddles every morning. We have the safety huddle for the hospital where we communicate these things that are going to impact other areas. What I may think may not impact anybody. It may affect the med pass at a certain time of day. And, sometimes we figure, 10 o'clock at night is a great time to start doing some of these updates. Well, man, that's when we do our vital signs for all the patients. So it's great to share that information and use different communication channels to get it out there.
Yeah, and the other thing about teamwork is that the more people that are involved in coming up with a solution, the better the solution. Yeah, without a doubt. That was a good one to bring up.
Absolutely. I'm a big proponent of cross-training, even within our own team, network, server, software, device, support, whatever. Because most of the time, whatever you're going to be doing in one of those silos impacts another. So if you're able to pull in some different voices that have different specialty, because they're all interweaved most of the time in some way, shape, or form, you'll have a better result holistically.
Yeah. And that's also not even teamwork within the IT department, but also in the company as a whole. Because what you really need is you need the people who have the different technical skills in the IT department to give their insight and expertise and collaborate with each other. But then they're also, usually what it means is there's somebody outside the IT department who really needs that solution. And they may have a bit of insight that the people in the IT department may not have. And then you also may have somebody from a different department who has insight as well. So it's not only internally, but it's also outside.
All right, last question. What is one piece of advice that you would give a student interested in pursuing your career or a career in your area?
I would say take the time to know what you like to do. Go ahead and do the investigation. What are the things in your life that make you happy that you can apply to IT? There's so many different areas you can be a part of. And something my dad told me long ago, find something you like to do for a career and you'll be happy throughout that career. Been at the hospital over 22 years and I love IT. I love the change every day. It's a new challenge.
Yeah, I would say to anyone getting into it is just to be flexible and to, whatever job that they're entering in as, to maybe not have an unrealistic expectation that you're going to have your dream job right out of the gate. It doesn't necessarily happen. But I think along the way, you're going to learn a lot that will help you get to where you want to be. And there's always going to be someone on your team, more than likely, that will help get you there. So to find that person wherever you're working, to glean knowledge from, to be the best helper role person that you can be as you move your way up, and just be flexible.
I think something that Norm kind of hinted to earlier was kind of always learning. So especially even right now, if there's something that you're coming up against, maybe it's surrounding your Minecraft game isn't working how you want it or something like that. Do what you can to figure out a solution for that. Like Norm mentioned, Google ultimately is a great option. Sometimes that's talking to your peers. They may have a solution as well. But the more that you can learn to resolve problems with those around you and from research will help you immensely. And what I also want to say is it's not too early to start. If you're already interested potentially in programming, there are options out there for you. I would definitely say there's a place called coderkids.com for kids of all ages that is a really great resource, and it's free, where you can go and test out what programming looks like.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would say also just think outside the box. I mean, you don't have to box yourself into what you think a career path is or what you think you have to do. I mean, I think a big thing that goes along with, at least in our industry, is public service. So, I mean, you may see that, I want to serve the public, but I also like IT a little bit. Maybe you could grow, one or two of those skill sets and find the perfect career for you. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things that you're not going to know right away. It's hard to figure out, especially when you're young. So just be open to different possibilities and where you can build on.
I also think something that's good is if you have the opportunity to go shadow in some of the places, because I think a lot of, especially in Carteret County, I mean, so at the hospital, we have a lot of different roles in IT, from technical, security to application, and you're not necessarily going to know it's something that you really want to do unless you kind of see what other people are doing with it. But then tacking on to that is also, I think, never stop learning. Kind of, you might start in one career path, but I think from an IT perspective, like everyone has said, it changes all the time. So really, to continue to grow your career, you should always kind of be looking ahead and seeing what else is out there, and just keep learning as you go, and you'll find something that really kind of fits your skill set and what you really like.
Yeah, a lot of what everybody else said, just to echo, I mean, continue to learn and everything else. What I'll just throw out is a lot of great advice from everybody. The one thing I love about the tech field, for anybody that wants to get into it, is the fact that it is constantly evolving and changing, and it never gets boring. There are a lot of jobs, I think, where things start to become consistent day in and day out, and that's just not the case with IT. Never has been, and I don't think it ever will be. So I think it's a great field to get into for anyone interested. And I definitely have not regretted getting into it when I did 30 years ago and not knowing anything at all about IT when I started. Now I just love it. So
Awesome, awesome. And we do have a job shadowing program, and we do have an internship program. We probably will reach out to y'all in the future. COVID kind of shut all that down. So we're hoping, along with everything else, it shut everything down. So we're hoping we can start that back. I had 12 going to the hospital in March last year for job shadow, and of course we shut down before then. So I'm hoping we'll get that back going soon. We have a few shadows going on, but they're usually 2 or 3 hours, and usually I like them to see a whole day. That way they can see the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything that happens in between. So we hope we'll reach out to y'all soon about that as we get going. Basically, thank you so much, all of you. You shared so much insight. This helps drastically with the kids and myself. I've learned a lot about what you do. And there are so many aspects I didn't know about technology and what's out there in the career. So I do thank you. We are working on some technology classes here. We just started an A+ certifications here. We're working on those. We do the CompTIA, as Wes talked about. We start with the IT fundamentals and do the A+. We're looking into some security. We do teach computer science programming. We teach 2 courses of that before they go over to the college. So I hope that we can learn more about it later and have these discussions in the future so that the kids can learn a lot more about your field. Thank you so much all for joining us.
Thank you.